So, Bole Baba Kiche, welcome to today's Zoom Satsang. And as always, I'm grateful to be with all of you. It's a really special time to gather around the world with people who are all interested in diving deeper into their connection to Babaji, to the divine. I'm always inspired. So here we are. I'm at the Haidakhandi Universal Ashram in Crestone, Colorado, United States. And like I said, very grateful today. Our topic is simplicity. So we've heard for a long time that that Babaji spoke about truth, which we spoke about last satsang, simplicity and love. And so we've taken that apart. And what does simplicity really mean to us? And what did we learn from Babaji? And how are we incorporating that in our life at this point? So that's the question. And I look around to see who would like to begin sharing.
I would be happy to say a few words because you sent something around by Vichar on the mail to some maybe 6-7 devotees. And he had a really inspiring take on the topic of simplicity. And what comes mostly to me is, of course, in the beginning, living with Babaji in 81, life in Haidakhandi was very, very simple. So that was on a very practical level to just have very little material things. At that time, I gave all my material things away. So I was really in Haidakhandi on my not last money, but on my money, which I slowly gave away to Babaji and the Ashram, until I just had a blanket and a mala and a few clothes, and that was it. And that was utter simplicity. And that was very enjoyable because you could focus on Babaji inside, outside, all the time. So, and you were fully busy with the process of cleaning up the turmoil inside and coming to the one moment. And that was very easy in Babaji's time to live in that simplicity. Later, my life became more complicated, I can say, through the material plane, of course. You collect things, you get responsibilities. Then the challenge is to not get too much attached to that. And that way, Muniraji was a great guide to not be afraid of the material plane, just be able to move in it. But what mostly inspired me to, in my memories also, to be around Babaji, that the simplicity of how he moved around, it showed that he had that childlike nature. His was so there all the time, this purity and childlike nature. That is for me also like the biggest beauty of how Babaji showed us the simpleness of life, that you don't complicate with your mind the situation. You can just flow very easy through the days and communicate with everything, communicate with people, with nature, with animals, but in a very childlike way. And that's the same in young children. They don't use their mind. They don't complicate life. And as I look at my life, I still had a lot of obstacles and still come up on a mental level that you try to sometimes solve things with the mind, overthink things. And I know that's not the way out, but it happens. So the mind is a very interesting thing. If you can slow it down with the mantra, or just go more inside, you come more in the present moment and relate, let's say, more from the heart with reality. That's a big help. That's a big help to get there. And what was his name? This Vichar, he wrote so beautiful about the child's state is that purity state, which refers to simplicity. Well, that was for me one very strong point. And on another level, I take it like to keep it simple. You can say, let what comes, let it come. What stays, let it stay. What wants to go, let it go. That kind of attitude to not be attached or want things a certain way, just to go with that flow of how it wants to move. because I also believe a lot is in our destiny. If we have to acquire a lot of material things around it or not, that can be a thing. Like I remember Vandana Lal saying, who's kind on a material level, you could say rich and has to take care of many responsibilities. But for her, she said simplicity means to be in the moment, just to deal with this moment. Don't make it bigger. That was also a very beautiful one to say, just don't complicate it. Don't make stories, don't go too far. Just stay in this moment. It's a very beautiful way. Also how she explained simplicity. Then what else came to me is like the sense to be more the witness of life than the doer of life. This is also a beautiful pointer or an attitude to see, to not get too much involved with from the me and mine, but to be more in the state of observing life. And that is helpful. And like this Vichars, it's Babaji really made a point about simplicity, because it's such a strong pointer to get on the road to God, to not get too indulgent in the material plane or to run after pleasures, but to keep life simple is a kind of a guarantee that you will continue on the right track to the divine. No? And that's maybe better leave the material plane from the mind and take the mantra and just stay as an observer and take life easy. And that's what inspired me. But the beauty of Baba in his state beyond the mind, but his playfulness and his childlike nature, that showed that Baba was simplicity incarnated. And of course, on a material plane, he was so beyond, he didn't need anything. He could materialize anything, or you could have everything, but the whole world, almost the whole universe was his in this experience. So for us, we have something to transform before this me and mine falls away and we feel really that the present is what we are. But it's that's my thought about so far. There's so many beautiful inspirational things came to me after this mail from Vichar. It's really beautiful topic, but he said it's a high road, it's a guaranteed high road to the divinity. Babaji really made it a point to use that intensely in our life. How can we simplify our life? Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's many words already to start up.
And because this was mentioned, I will post it on the YouTube when I post this video today, the Zoom Satsang on YouTube. I'll post what he wrote to me also, because it's being referred to and people will be wondering, but I think you covered it really well. Thank you, Pujari. Someone else wants to share something that struck them with this idea, or a moment that you're with Baba or experiencing Baba in that space?
I haven't been around Baba for very long, but what I've noticed when I've been away from my home and come back, if I've been away for like a week or more, long enough to disengage, I look at my house and I look at my things, and I realize that each and every one of those things requires my attention of some sort. To ignore it, to deal with it, to use it, where to place it. And it consumes the first couple of days of my return, my stuff. And we've all been aware of our stuff for a long time, but it was so in my face coming back that I'm responsible for that photograph. And if it's broken, I need to fix it. And I'm responsible for this. And there are too many things to be responsible for. It is the opposite of simplicity, because my mind is constantly going to the things. So I just want to share that with others who have seen that happening, that I mean, and I have a friend who downsized her whole house into a tiny house. And she said to me, you know, we have the same problems that you do in a big house, but there are fewer of them. So I don't know what, I mean, I have a house, not an apartment, and so on and so forth. So I have a lot of things to attend to, but it's just not at all what Baba had in mind. And it's good. I mean, I'm glad to see it. And childishness is definitely the way to go. So thank you for that share.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think this idea of awareness. Yesterday, we were actually talking about this we have a Devi, Divine Mother study group, and we're speaking about awareness of where we put our energy, where we put our thoughts, what's pulling us from our practice, from our remembering the divine at all times. So awareness is really important, and then we make choices.
Absolutely. And you can be blindsided by your outer world if it takes over. But you can always come back. That's the good thing.
With the tools that Baba gave us, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, simplicity is definitely a state of mind. When we were living in Haidakhandi, everything was very, very simple that we were living in. And in those years, I was thinking that that's the perfect way of doing things. But when you are moving again to the West, and quickly you start to collect stuff. And as Emily was saying, it is, you think you own stuff, but actually stuff owns you.
It does.
Yeah, and but it's a process.
We've been indoctrinated.
Covered all that. Yeah. Some years ago, only 2-3 years ago, I went with Sanjeev to Vrindavan to meet some older devotees from Mahendra Maharaj and to get some stories. We recorded them, but we still haven't typed them up, and but that will still be happening one day. But we visited somebody who was in one of those satellite towns from Gokul. It was in Gokul, one of those satellite towns from Vrindavan. And he had nothing in his house, but he was not a poor man. And it was all painted perfectly. He had a bed with a simple bedspread with a few mats on the floor to sit on, but there was nothing. And also in the other rooms, there was just nothing. In the kitchen, they had some utensils and some plates and stuff, but it was just so, and one calendar, one of those Indian god calendars with, and for the rest, nothing. It was so impressive because you could see that he was just done that by choice to live like that. Now, if we would do that, most of us, I think everybody included, we would be pretty unhappy soon with not having anything around or not having anything to concentrate on. But it really is a state of mind. Simplicity is keeping your mind easy, and it works much better if you don't have so much stuff around.
Right.
But it is a whole practice, and depends also what your star sign is and stuff like that. For some, it is much more work to be simplistic than for others. It's a process, but the more you become aware of it, and the thing is that what I just said to Emily also, it is we don't own stuff, stuff owns you.
Right.
Then you slowly start to become a little bit more respectful instead of raking stuff into your life again and getting rid of it again and thus breaking and repairing it and all these unnecessary cycles which we get into our life, which are, but it needs to happen here.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the awareness of it all.
Yeah.
I see that Pritam got on just now. Welcome wherever you are, traveling, I think, right now. But he wrote this beautiful book, Truth, Simplicity, and Love. And so I was very keen on hoping that he would get on and share a little bit about simplicity. So you can listen in for a while and share later or as it flows, because we haven't shared too much yet.
I say a few words now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what have already been said. I believe Raghuveer was pointing out to some examples of very simple living. My own reflection is that to some extent it depends on the society you live in. In my case, me and my wife, we own 2 cars, which I would think would be considered excessive in many societies around the world. But simply this was a necessity of our life in order to get to work. Both me and her needed to have a car. For my own sake, living in a society which is relatively opulent. I apologize for my dog.
Oh, it's your dog. Okay.
You have a dog.
I have always used a formula that was speaking to me, that I've heard from Prabhupada, the founder of the Krishna consciousness movement. And he said a thing that appealed to me, which was, we should be satisfied with whatever we can earn without much effort. So this has become my own philosophy of life. I have never had a desire to be rich, for instance. My life was mostly about service to other people, doing psychotherapy, this kind of stuff. But whatever I earn through this mostly 9-to-5 job, and I give certain percentage of his income to different charities and stuff like this. Whatever I earn from this kind of lifestyle, whenever I spend some money on myself, I try to do it without, and I normally do it without any sense of guilt. But this can be paradoxical. For instance, yesterday in a store, I saw a device called towel warmer. To say the truth, I have never thought that some device like this existed or would be needed. But I don't know. Maybe in a country like Canada, where you have 6 months of winter every year, maybe this device wouldn't seem to be so excessive at some point. I didn't buy it. I have no plan to buy it, but I can imagine how some people would consider doing this. So this will be, a couple of words I would like to say on this subject.
Thank you, Prita. I keep remembering the beautiful story of King Janaka and how Sukadeva went there to find out how could a king be enlightened. And it's what many of you are speaking about, he has a whole kingdom around him. And yet with the state of mind, like Raghu was speaking about, offering all his work to the divine and remembering the mantra and whatever other things he did, he was able to be enlightened and at peace with everything he had. And I thought that was a great example that you can simplify your house or live in India with just a blanket and a lota perhaps, or you can live in, be the king of a great kingdom. But really it's the state of mind that we have. Ramlota or Hiraman, I think of both of you as simple. And Hiraman, you've said Baba said often to you, you were simple. What did that mean?
You're so simple. You're so simple. I think, you know, simplicity for me is, it's of all these gifts Baba gives us, and it's hard to have a favorite, but like I say when I'm teaching the cranial class, this module is my favorite module until the next one or something like that. But simplicity to me is like it's like almost this, it supercharges us with ease to face the complexities in life. Because in a constant karma yoga or in constant engagement with life, we can't always be living in the forest or on the mountaintop or in Haidakhandi. I guess we could be living always in Haidakhandi. But we can always be there in our essence. And to me, the simplicity is what is the gift that does that. You know, we can be at ease even in difficult situations, or even in a busy life. We can be at ease just because we're so simple, and because life is so simple. Really, we love, we work, we give. It's pretty simple. Watching Babaji, have we ever seen anything that could be more easy than watching Babaji, seeing how Babaji moves, seeing just how everything just came with such ease. He's just a living example of simplicity. In the midst of complexity, he was dealing with all of us complex human beings, all individually, with utter and complete ease. Simplicity to me is like awesome.
But is that, Hiraman, is that because Babaji was beyond like a human mind? He behaved like a childlike purity. We didn't need to think about life or how to react to Pujari or to Hiraman or Ramloti. That all went natural and automatic. He had no agenda. This childlike nature was still so always there and also so attractive. And so it's somehow with a subdued mind, with an empty mind, I think that's a clue into to transcend the mind, to stay in the moment to moment reality and deal with the complexity of life, whatever comes to you karmically, or if you're supposed to be a billionaire or a pauper, it's this, you can have that enlightened state. Like for Babaji, he had nothing and everything. Of course, it's another level we try to to discuss here, but Baba really had nothing and everything. He was nothing, and at the same time, he was everything. But the beauty I saw, that how can he behave or move in this free of mental turbulence? His mind was not troubling him. And that's, I think, our human condition. Slowly, we build up an idea of who we are and a mindset. And that's actually our biggest obstacle of how to transcend that. That's the simple way, is to let that, don't take that too serious. No, take the mantra and come home, and don't get too identified with the mind. Coming to that word again.
Yes, I want to share two situations. My English is not good. I wrote some situations down and I want to read it. I was in 1981. I met Babaji, and I remember two situations. As a gift, I had brought him a blank book surrounded by a fabric cover that I had embroidered. The moment I wondered if Babaji knew it was me, he took a piece of paper, removed the useless part, and put the rest aside in appreciation. A quick glance and the answer was so simple. I don't understand in that moment what that means, but today, in the last year, slowly I know the message. Another situation I remember was when I was given a karma yoga task of weeding the garden in the rectangle above. You understand what I say?
Mm-hmm.
Since I love gardening, I was really excited about this task, but during my action, doubting thoughts came straight back. Am I doing this right? Am I not picking out anything wrong? What are the garden rules here? Suddenly, Babaji got up and happily hopped around the garden like a child. Back then, in 1981, I didn't understand anything about it. Actually, it's only really dawned on me in the last few years, and I understand these messages deep inside me. Om Namah Shivaya. Thy will be done, not mine. So it's actually so easy, and there's really no reason to brood so much. Just let him take the lead. He is always in our heart. So all we have to do is sense and remember. I think these messages are an expression of that, what simplicity means. So I hope you could understand what I say. Sorry.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to write them down and read them. I just have a picture of Baba dancing and hopping around the garden with you.
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
Let go of your worry. Thank you.
I was only a few days there, but in my mind came so many situations, and I thought, how can it place in that time? But it came a long time part for part in my
Memory.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Memory.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Holy
Babaji. From Lota, you've been quiet, simply quiet. Do you have something to share? Maybe we lost him. When you come back. There you are.
Jerry. Ciao, Ram.
Ciao.
You are muted.
I froze out for a moment. Now I'm re-entering again.
Oh, good.
I see you. Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Yeah, we hear you well. Just wondering what you would like to share about this topic of simplicity, Ramlota.
Well, I was struck very much what Pujari said and also others said about how Baba was appealing to us, This simplicity, was really, I don't know how to say it really, because he was he had a nobility, an inner nobility. And he was such a noble being, you could feel it, his greatness. And at the same time, this simplicity together with this high nobility and this simplicity together, for me, it was, my heart would open, you know, when I saw that, I recognized those two things together. It was really amazing to watch him. We were so lucky somehow, no, because in our ignorance, we were attracted to this body. And by just being attracted, we were learning so many things about our nature. You know, it was very incredible. I remember once, you know, made me do the restaurant in the Italian chai shop. And so one day I was there alone. He came in the restaurant. He spent quite some time in the restaurant. And I was there alone. All my helpers were in Alduani. So at a certain point, he asked me a mandarin. You know, he liked a lot to eat these mandarins. He asked me a mandarin, and then 9 people came all in a sudden, and I was so busy, I couldn't serve him. You know, at a certain point, while I was serving everybody, I turned and I saw he was squatting in front of the box with the mandarin and picking his own mandarin, no? In such a simple way, no, he didn't fuss, he didn't say, oh, I asked you a mandarin and you didn't give it to me. He just went down and picked it. And to look at him and see him like that, for me, tears came to my eyes, you know, because there is this greatness, and at the same time, this utter simplicity. You know, he was walking barefoot, was going everywhere barefoot. You remember how he was saving all the nice colored paper when you brought him a gift, and if you were ripping the paper, he would get angry and say, no, you have to open very carefully to save it so you can use it again. And all the rubber band for the shop, he had this taking care, this caring for everything, to do all the small details. You know, it was really wonderful to see that. And then in general, I can only repeat, I think I said it already the last time, that I had found this in one booklet of Mahendra Maharaj. I found this explanation of truth, simplicity, and love. Very nice. And Mahendra was saying, truth means what the mind thinks, the mouth says, the body does. So practicing, one becomes simple. Then maybe love comes. And that explanation struck me and helped me a lot, because, you know, I always said, oh, truth, simplicity, and love. But I never stopped really thinking what that means, actually, you know, because truth is also such a big concept. Like, especially for, you know, a Christian, we have all the dogmas in our religion, and big things that you cannot even touch. Instead, in this way, truth explained as what the mind thinks, the mouth says, the body does, is this like a flow, a spontaneous flow, no? Like this spontaneity we loved so much in Baba. No, he was incredibly spontaneous in his way of doing things. Of everything was spontaneous around him, and so that was very, very beautiful. And so practicing, one can become simple. Then, yeah, maybe simplicity is what I think Pujari said also, and not to complicate things. You know, like his mind was very simple. You know? We don't need to complicate anything. And so then maybe love comes, maybe.
Also, Ramlord, what we saw with Babaji, that he had not any needs and he had not wants. And if I look at my life or what I've been going through, the neediness and wantingness is still such a topic moving through life. It's a thing, well, this is normal, this is human. But could see with Babaji, there was nothing. He didn't need anything. He didn't want anything. And life became full around him. You know, the people gave him golden bracelets with diamonds, and he would pass them on to somebody else. He didn't, no, Ramloti, you know very well, with whatever sari or Babaji, please give him a present. But Baba was not interested, not even in the presents that we want to bring him. It's really, he looked at our heart. Is there love? Ah, this is why you are alive. The rest, Baba had no interest. He had no, on a personal level, he had no needs, no wants. I remember a little story also, because I thought I was really also already lucky that when I came to Baba, before that time, I gathered quite some money through my businesses, music businesses. And I slowly started to give it away also to Babaji and the ashram. And then I had my last like 10,000 guilders. And then in '83, we had to print the green book, the green photo book, where Buri was working on it with Motima and Malti. And then I offered, oh, but I still have some money. I can pay for the printing, because they needed money to print it. Said, oh, I will ask Babaji. Babaji, yes, you can pay for it. Money will come back, Baba said to me. I said, no, Baba, I don't need money back. No, I'm here. In Haidakhandi, life was so simple. I thought I would live there forever, so I didn't need money. I just, this 10 rupees a day, there was no problem. So I said, no, Baba, no. He said, no, money will come back. I start almost to argue with Baba that I don't need it. But Baba could see, just wait a minute, Pujari. After 5 years, I had a lot of money again. Again, 1 shop, 2 shops, 3 shops. And a lot of money came to me without really wanting it, but it came for some purpose, for some, okay, I could do some good work with it. But so then it was more for me a challenge to stay in that, to allow money to flow in and out, and to allow the material plane to flow around you without, the attitude of attachment. And there again, Muniraj came with his great teaching, just stay in the moment. And if you have the attitude, what also has been said here with Pritam, just be of service. Don't take it personal. You just serve your life away. And that's also something what I learned in the early days from a Catholic school where I came from. Said, why are we on the planet? Why are we on earth? To serve God and be happy. And that was on a very young age also my attitude, a very beautiful one. Why are we on earth? To serve God and be happy. And around Baba, that was also really how I felt. You can really give up everything. Psychologically, we went through a roller coaster many times, and of course also the blissful moments. But again, I see Baba was so beyond. We are babies. We are step by step, but the beauty, that childishness, it was with Baba because he had no needs. He has clearly seen that any need or want is only something that will cause problems sooner or later. So on that level, slowly we move there. And at the same time, with Muniraj, just be in this world, but not from the world. No, that's also the beautiful shloka. Yeah.
Ramlota, you mentioned something Mandarin. What exactly was that? Mandarin? You said Mandarin. He asked you a Mandarin.
Mandarin,
sorry.
orange.
A small orange, yeah.
Small orange. Oh.
Or
That's not a Hindi word.
tangerine.
Yeah, an orange.
I loved your expression. He was nobility. He was so noble. I've never heard Baba described as noble. That's beautiful.
He was incredibly noble.
Yeah, he was.
It was amazing to watch that. Also because he was together with this so simple, and he was a king and a sadhu at the same time. It was very, very difficult to put together. I never saw anybody who could incarnate both together at the same time.
Right.
our horsey girl, that's what your name says on your, she asked, you know, are these the characteristics of a sadhu? And you use that word. So she was asking that in the chat, these characteristics of being simple and not being attached. And also she mentioned that Babaji said to talk less, and that was very helpful for her as well. This idea, these ideas of simplicity. How would you define a sadhu?
I have no idea. I think there are different sadhus, you know, like there are different men. There are good men, good sadhus, bad sadhus, like any other category, I would say. A sadhu should be a renouncer, no? No, that is Swami. Eh?
Yeah.
A sadhu is one who leaves all the thing in India, the caste, the system, and goes out completely of the thing. And then there are also very different schools of sadhus. So maybe Rakesh can explain better what a sadhu is.
I'm not an expert. A sadhu or a swami, or I think even in Catholic traditions, we have fathers or the priest, someone who is less attached to this world and more attached to the God Almighty, whatever. He, like whatever we are discussing, simplicity, he is simple, whether he has something or he doesn't have, whether he is a, you know, king or a pauper, he is the same. The sadhu is more like that. The terminology can be anything, but just to share a thought, Ramlota, you said Babaji was like a king and a, I don't know, maybe the opposite of whatever the king is at the same time. Just an analogy. In Hinduism, Mahadev, Shiv, he is like the lord of the Trilok. At the same time, he is, you know, walking in a half naked position, you know, he does not even have enough clothes to wear. Something similar. You know, Babaji is Shiv, I keep hearing from you, Babaji was Shiv. But, you know, Mahadev is also similar. I mean, what I know, like, you know, I have not met Babaji or seen Babaji or had some experience, like I said in my first session. But the king and the, you know, someone who has nothing, that is the way even Shiva is presented in Hinduism. He is the lord of all the lokas. At the same time, he is wearing he is half naked. You know, does not even have clothes to wear. He's not attached maybe to the clothes. The message is that whether you are this or that, I am with you. I think so.
Thank you, Rakesh. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Shivani typed in one who's let go of all material attachments. So I think it's just right in that same, we don't need to define too much, but this idea that people are simply, who have committed their lives to really seeking their union with the divine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Babaji came with nothing and had almost no clothes in the beginning, and then people started to give him things, so he started to accept them and started to wear silk clothes, but then gave them away again, and it was we are, of course, yeah. He was definitely not busy with these things.
He was not attached to anything, no? A golden bracelet or a silk sari or silk dhotis. He would give it away the next day. Well, for us, it's difficult.
Once I was standing next to him while he was sitting in the Kirtan hall on the swinging chair, and somebody gave him a watch, and he opened it, or he gave it in a box, and he opened the watch and he looked at it, and he put it on and he took it off again. And all of a sudden he looked at me, he said, "You like?" I said, "Yes, well, very nice watch." He said, "Oh, here." I said, no, it was not for me. I don't need a watch. I am fine." He said, "What, this watch no good?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't need a watch. I'm fine." He said, "You don't like this watch?" I said, "Well, it's not like that." And then he said, "You like this watch?" And he had another watch on his arm. He said, I didn't know what to say anymore because I said, well, it's a nice watch. He said, okay, I'll give you this. I said, no. So I said, I don't want any watch. I don't need any watch. I'm fine. Then, okay, after this discussion, it was okay. And I don't remember what he did with the watch anymore, but what he had this white square cardboard box. And he took out a pen out of his pocket and he started to draw on it while people were coming and going and making pranam. And he was entertaining or talking with people around. And he started to write Om Namah Shivaya on it. And then he was on the side of the box. He wrote again Om Namah Shivaya while he was interacting with people. And then he started to, like if he was bored or what he was sort of imagining mindlessly, he started to tear this box to pieces. And all of a sudden he opened it up and the box opened up as a cross with Om Namah Shivaya on all the squares. And he said, you like? I said, yes. I still have it.
You still have it.
A beautiful, beautiful piece of box. He put it in a beautiful frame, and it's right, like it's a cross, like from Christ, and everywhere is written Om Namah Shivaya.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful story. Yeah.
Sundarima wrote a very nice thing on the chat. Can you say it out loud, Sundari? No.
Shall we read it for you? Because I'm thinking her English is not. Where's our chats?
She wrote, I asked Babaji, what experience of simplicity do I have with you? And he said, simplicity is the peace you receive in your heart when you are with me. And that is the love that comes from it. This love is God. But you actually met Baba and you asked him that? No?
In his heart.
You have to unmute.
Yeah, the heart. No, yeah.
Yeah, in his heart. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's really true. That's what I've been getting with this idea of, nobility, king-like, so secure in who you are when you just feel Baba's love all around you and you realize you are part of that love. You are Baba's love also in human form serving. With that knowledge, then there are no stories. When something happens, it happens and you take action. But there's no questioning or story. And when I'm in that space, it is a noble space. It's a regal place. It's just, but it's nothing. It's also not any, it's just who I am with no question. So for me, that's the simplest place to be. And it's exactly what you're saying, Siddharima. It's when Baba just wraps his arm, her arms around me in love. I feel that. And then there's nothing else. Nothing else matters except whatever is placed before me for my next step in work, service, day. So thank you. And Baba was just that love, walking everywhere. Dancing when he felt like dancing. And
I've been thinking for a couple of weeks since our last gathering of Ramlota's story about reading Mahendra Baba's True Simplicity, Love, and how Baba blended everything into one, like there's the truth and there's layers of truth. And then there's that truth that just permeates the room, and the truth when you're around Baba the texture of everything changed. The light was different, and just you could like feel the universe in those moments, and like you could kind of see everything in a different way. And then there's that, and then that was simplicity also. And then Ramlota said how if we practice truth, and then that might bring simplicity, and then that might bring love, and then we find love, or then I don't remember exactly how you said it, Ramlota, but and then we may find love or something like that, and like it's all one, Baba would just blended all these wonderful, the king of nothing, and everything. This, it's just such a gift we've been given, and simplicity has such potency. It gives us the potency to be, like Pujari was talking about, wanting. It gives us this potency to let the wanting go until we just are. And the story of Raghavira, like how it seemed like Baba was bored, and this mindless tearing up of things, and then unfolds this thing that was like 1,000,000 times more valuable than a Rolex watch in that moment, because it was just pure isness. We're just really lucky to, and luck doesn't even describe what it's like to experience what we experience. Whether we spent years with Babaji, or whether we're meeting Babaji in our hearts right this moment for the first time, it's really the same. Doesn't really make any difference.
Yeah, Baba is a lighthouse, but he was so much beyond the human realm, beyond time. He could manifest any. Of course, he had no wants, because if he wanted, he could manifest anything. He could feel. He has such siddhi qualities, which he didn't show up. But being in his presence, you could feel he is from another dimension. He is not from a human dimension. He doesn't have problems. He just have to think about stuff. He's just. Yeah, purity all the time, day and night. That's continuous stream of being and love, just melting with whatever was happening around him. It's such a natural lila happened around him. It's like unimaginable. And we on our human plane, we are struggling because we think we are somebody, and we have a mind that we sometimes falls away, but mostly is quite dominant, and where we need Baba's guidance and teaching to dissolve that glue which makes us a separate entity, where with Babaji was like melted with all of us. There was not the separate entity. Babaji was all of us. He was not a person. He was just beingness, and he could fully understand our makeup and confront us with our personalities, and help us to see through it at times, until we roll in the mud again and take ourselves very serious, and then have to clean that up again.
It's actually little, I don't know, if we are attached to this body, the physical world, who made us, it is because of the will of God that we are attached. We are born as a body only because Babaji wished so. And then after coming into the body, the message is you are not the body. So why you created the body in the first place? It's like, if the attachment to the world is wrong, then that feeling of attachment should not have been planted in the first place inside us. So first it gets planted, we are born in this physical body, and then we are kind of told or taught to not be attached to this body, to you are not this body. It's like, the first the question is raised and then you are not given the answer.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that we are born in these bodies. Yeah, I think the body appears in our consciousness. Yeah, this is our real experience, is that everything appears to us, when we wake up, we open our eyes and we see a world, but then when we sleep, we don't see anything. Where is the world when we sleep? Everything appears on the screen of consciousness. Yeah? So these bodies are appearances, really, not they're phantom beings, not real things. This is what I feel. And as the scripture says, they need the bodies because there is consciousness in the body and the absolute can experiment itself. Otherwise, it's not conscious of being, They said our awareness is not conscious of himself, itself. Yeah? So there is this play, divine play of recognizing. I think that's it, The body appears to us, We are not that. It's very difficult to realize it because I can remember it. Maybe I do my practice, and when I practice for 5-10 minutes, it lasts. And then when I am out of my room and something happens, or I forget it immediately. Then slowly you remember again, and you keep on practicing. It's like a muscle that you have to train, Till I think it becomes a state, spontaneous, like we could see around the body of Baba, that body also was not the thing. Baba was not that body we met. We love him so much. This was very difficult to realize, but he was not that body. So
the true translation.
Very big lila.
Yeah, the true translation of the word Maya is also not illusion. The true translation is what appears to be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because it seems so real when it is happening. Yeah, I know them. I am often in the hospital in this period, and it looks so real when.
Tell me about it.
Raghu, tell me again what the true translation of Maya is. You just said.
What appears to be.
What if
Ramlota was just explaining so nicely about how everything, including our body and our lives, is appearing to us, and then we fall asleep and it's not there, but then something else, dreams or whatever, it's all appearing in the mirror of our consciousness. And Maya is not an illusion as we usually talk about it, but it's actually what appears to be.
Which is a very profound distinction,
Yeah.
What appears to be is, in physics, it's called the collapse of the wave function. Until we observe something, then it has no materiality. What appears to be. That would be a good mantra. What appears to be.
Well, that's what Babaji said. Jai Mahamaya ki jai.
Yeah.
But also you can see that in a young child, from 0 to 1 year old, that they have not yet that identification with their body or their mind. They're just only looking and melting with everyone, and reacting. If you hit the hammer, they start to cry, or they're just energetically connected with everything. And slowly they develop, they look at their own hand from, their hand, and they slowly after 5 years, this is me. And you have a name and you have a body, but these first years, that is not really there. I can see that in the baby, we learn that, like, yeah, that we are that body, and it only appears to be. But in that very young age, we don't have the spiritual understanding that it's, we are not aware that we are awareness. We are that awareness in that young age, but we are not aware that we are awareness. Now, on our age now, we sometimes have awareness and sometimes we are aware of that awareness and see the rest is appears to be challenging.
Will, did you raise your hand with a question?
I've got something I wanted to share. I've got Radhashram's book, I Am Harmony. And on page 62, it Mahindra Maharaj gives his definition of simplicity. And leading a simple, natural life develops the simplicity that is helpful to walking this path. To be simple in this context requires a clear conscience and detachment toward, not rejection of, the materialistic world. To lead a simple life, one should consider practicing voluntary poverty. This is not a directive to renounce activity or wealth, which often comes to those who practice truth, simplicity, and love, but a standard against which to consider one's personal demands or criteria for personal needs in life.
Because it's quite interesting, maybe for you also.
And that reminded me of what Raghavir was talking about when, like 45 minutes ago, when he said, you know, he met the fellow who was fairly rich, had a nice apartment, very clean, good paint, you know, a nice bed, calendar on the wall. It sounded like he had money, but he didn't really care about the money. He chose to live a life of voluntary poverty where, sure, you can have a lot of money, but you only really own what you need. And like I think about it too, because I've had this habit in my life of not cooking and just going out to restaurants and spending, you know, in the States, if you buy a meal and a couple of beers or something, it comes out to like $30 or $40. You do that on a regular basis, it puts a hole in your pocket. So it just makes me yeah, that's just what I thought about. A lot of times I like the dictionary definitions of things, and that, to me, that was what in Radhashram's book, that's what it was.
Thanks, Will. Hi, Dion. We're talking about simplicity. If you have a thought, pop in. And I know, Emily, you might want to tell your story about being with Babaji. If we find you again on the screen. And everybody, I loved, Sundari, what you shared, that you asked Babaji in your heart, like Hirman pointed out. It's not just meeting him we all meet him in the flesh when we connect with him in our heart. And that's really important to always remember.
I have another funny one, if it is
yeah,
interesting to hear about when I made my first trip to Holland. When I had lived with Babaji for 5 months, I needed to get another visa, and I had to go back to Europe, but I only went back to put my passport in the washing machine so I could get a new passport and a new visa for India. But that was taking 3 weeks or something at that time. So these 3 weeks that I had, the only thing what I could think of is, what can I bring for Babaji? But I'd been watching that in these months before, what people were bringing, like watches or clothes or I don't know, all sorts of things which they thought was beautiful, and I didn't really think that it was very useful. I could see that he was all giving it away or putting it somewhere, but it was actually more stuff. So I thought, what can I do? So I brought tools. I bought lots of flower seeds and garden tools and things which I thought was handy, and and a big bag of really heavy stuff. And I came and I brought that to him, and he looked and said, "Oh, very good, great, thanks, very smart." So the next day, I'm around on the platform there in front of his room, and I see Babaji coming out. She was crying. She said, "Oh, I have to leave back to," and I'm going and I'm looking and I'm seeing she's having in her hand my yellow bag of Schiphol Airport, which I had given Babaji's that gift in from Babaji. Said, "Oh, yeah, sorry you're leaving." She said, "Babaji is giving me all this stuff." So what have you got? You know, I mean, already getting slightly worried for what have you got? And she showed hundreds of packets of seeds and tools and whatever. She said, "I don't need this stuff, and now I have to carry it all the way." She said, "I can buy this stuff myself." And I was just listening to her, and while my world was collapsing of being useful. It took me a moment.
Yeah. It was for everyone was different. What you said here reminded me, you know, Baba sent me alone in India for 2 months. At the beginning of January, he called me and he was leaving for Mumbai and all his tours. And he left some people in Haidakhandi and many he sent back home. And I was the only one in the ashram, and he didn't say what to do. So not stay here, not come with me, not go back home. So I was a little nervous. I say, well, what shall I do here? Everybody knows what to do. I don't. I'm very confused. So the end, we had to all leave and go to Adivani with Baba. So I ran, I get my towel on top of Gora Devi's room. And I come down and I say, "Hello." I hear this voice, "Hello." So he was on his chair in Gora's room. And I entered and made pranam, and he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, Baba. You didn't tell me, so I was waiting for you to tell me." And so he looked at me and thought for a moment, said, "You go alone in India for 2 months and then come back here 1st of April. And I said, "Okay." So I did my things. I went alone for India. Then I was in Rishikesh, and I had to go back to Haidakhandi and to meet Baba again. So I wanted to make a beautiful gift for him. I had very little money, but there was a beautiful Gandhi shop there, Gandhi Ashram shop. So I went there and I said, "What is the best silk you have?" So this is the best silk. Okay, give me for kurta and lungi length. So I brought this beautiful silk. Then I remained really with just the money to survive another 2 months in Arakan and go back to Delhi and leave. So I had really nothing. And so I arrived there, and Baba was sitting, and at a certain point I brought this silk and I got up, and Baba was so beautiful. And I don't know, spontaneously, I just wrapped this silk around his neck. So he started laughing. I said, where did you learn this? Because it was a customary thing to do, not with this. And I did it spontaneously without knowing. And then he dressed it, and he was very proud of it, and he kind of liked it, and he kept it for all the darshan. But then at the end of the darshan, he called me and he said, "Baba doesn't need this. You give me the money that you paid for it, and I can do many good things for people. Mm-hmm. Baba doesn't need precious things. So to each one of us, was a different teaching.
Beautiful.
Yeah, on that same tour, I was just saying before after these 5 months in Haidakhandi, I was living in the shop, And all my possessions was one metal box, which I kept in the room where I was staying. And when I went for these 3 weeks to Holland, when I came back, I was so, Tukaram, I think, was running the shop in that period. But I was so happy to go and see Babaji, who was on the Gufa on that moment. So I went to the Gufa to see, and I was looking at Babaji. There were many people around. And all of a sudden, I see my box, my metal box with some, I could recognize it with some stickers on. It was at the Gufa. It didn't make any sense. It was under my bed on the other side. So I said, what is that box doing there? So nobody knew. And so I asked Tukaram, who was staying in the shop, I said, what are my things here? He said, oh, Babaji came into the shop one day and he said, what is this? He said, that's from Raghavir. So, oh, you distribute, give it on the bring it to the Gufa and distribute. I was just in time. Not that there was so much inside, but there was some clothes which I got from Babaji and my own clothes and an asana to sit on and a towel. There was and my little temple. There was not a lot of things there, but it was just possessions.
Yeah, Diane, yes, something.
Bole Baba Ki Jai.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that the third visit, as I was coming down the riverbed and Babaji was there, I had all these photographs of all the accomplishments we had made at the Babaji Ashram in the past year. And he just took them and threw them up in the air. And I do understand about simplicity, that we don't need to live with more than what we need. But I wanted to share this phrase that's been on the wall of my office that speaks of Babaji. Perhaps in attending to the immediacy of what is around us and within us, the next step reveals itself. Then the next step is the immediacy and our path unfolds. And in simplicity, the depths are unfolded. And in simplicity is the depth of all time and all space. So for me, simplicity, Babaji's teaching, is to be in the moment, in the present moment, not in my mind, but in my heart, because he exists there eternally. Bole Baba Ki Jai.
Jai, Jai. Yeah, it reminds me how Babaji also said, don't make plans. Don't
Right.
make plans for the future. It will unfold step by step automatically. Yes, beautiful how you said that, Diane. We don't need our mind.
It's the hardest lesson in the human body, right?
Right. Yeah, you see, as a child, 1, 2 years old, they don't need the mind. They are beautiful, relating to everything and each other and nature and a dog and a cat, more beautiful than we can do it. Because they don't use their mind. They're not spoiled yet.
Oh, you raised your hand. Where's our horsey girl? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Tina.
Yes, Tina. Thank you.
I know there are so many,
Where's she?
not parallels, but can you hear me, John Wilkie? Can you hear me?
Difficult.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Tina.
I know there are lots of parallels, but the thing of not making plans, but yet paying the rent, for example, is tricky to me. Could you speak to that at all?
Maybe I could say a few words because maybe even going to Rakesh's dilemma, this may be a interesting philosophical discussion about whether we are bodies or not, whether bodies appear in our consciousness or not. I remember Babaji saying, I believe in the teachings of Babaji, that this is a great thing to take a human body, and whether we like it or not, we have to take care of this body, first of all, by feeding it, by clothing it, and sheltering and stuff like this. And, you know, before I even met Babaji, I already had 2 children. So it's not only my own body that I need to take care of, but also the bodies of these little beings. And I believe there's only one solution to this, which is we have to work. This is what more or less Karma Yoga is about. We simply have to provide for these little ones or our families, and there is no other way. And if we could do work, and if this can be done in actually in the spirit of service and detachment, more or less we stay afloat. There is money for rent. Yeah? At the moment we stop working for whatever reason, normally this is where the difficulty begins.
I could probably add a little too. I think, you know, Babaji was also ultimately practical, you know, like totally would, he would always, he'd ask me what was going on, and would sometimes send me to do, like he'd send me to do banking for the ashram to Nainital. Just because, I think mainly because I just knew how to travel with money, and I wasn't like, you know, just drifting off in the clouds, you know, and in that respect. And so ultimately very practical. And I think our plans are, we always make plans. It just, with Babaji, we learned to let our plans be really fluid, you know, it just, that fluid nature of, you know, and also there's this key again of wanting, you know, that was always a recurrent lesson, I think, is letting the wanting, you know, letting the wanting ease up a bit.
Yeah, I can add, like, boils in me, like in the time with Babaji was so playful, and he also kept us in a playful state. You know, in my case, it was at one point I had a bakery close to Ramlota's restaurant. There was a little thing, and I was baking pizzas and bread and apple cake, and I had 5 o'clock in the morning, go up the mountain, get my wood, and doing that for maybe 1.5, 2 months. Then he changed it. Then I had to do a fruit shop, means go to Haldwani and buy boxes of fruit, apples, and all kinds of fruits. And then I had to make a little fruit stall close to the Raghuveer shop, let me say. And sometimes when Raghu was gone or he went off shopping, then I took care of the shop. But that, I remember, it was always like, you don't really, you know, being around Babaji, I didn't want anything. I just felt home, and I didn't mind what I was doing, chopping wood or cleaning the floor or doing the fruit shop or doing the bakery or doing, and then I had to learn to do the puja. And then that was quite a steady journey to be the pujari at the temple. But at the same time, with going to early morning, we had to take care of the ashram kitchen. Means 6 o'clock, you make a fire and you put on the rice and the dal, and after the arti, that's done. And then after that, we chop the vegetables. And so it was all around. He let me play happily all kinds of ashram duties. So that flexibility really served me well, that you stay flexible. Doesn't matter what you do. If you serve God, it doesn't matter if you clean the floor or if you're a psychiatrist or if you train horses, your beauty in your heart, you know, that's important. The attitude with what you do it is much more important than whatever your profession or not profession. A sadhu can make a sadhu into a profession. It doesn't matter what function we play in life. Babaji was so far beyond all of that. He was supporting everything. but he was more looking at the intention. Even if you would give him something material, he didn't really look for the material thing. He was in touch with what was behind it. I remember one time quite in the beginning when I had to go back to Holland, same story like Raghu. I had to put my passport in the washing machine, get a new passport, a new visa, and come back.